What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Run It Up podcast. It's been a very long time. I am your host, Najee Adams. I got my guy with me, Khalil Baker. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here. It's been a long time. I haven't seen you so long.
I know, bro. It's been
Yeah.
like since September. I think early September was.
Is it? Yeah, I feel like longer than that for real.
It do feel like longer than that.
And this year's been weird.
Yeah,
Everything.
it's been tough. I moved, Khalil moved, so we we've been moving and grooving, but now we're back. You see, new background. The little lights is not in the back no more. We got a little more professional setup, office. Live with my girl now, so we kind of had the stupid little lights up top. Um, but yeah, Justice, his son got sick, unfortunately. So my guy is taking care of my boy Kai. He may or may not hop on, but if he doesn't, we're gonna get him on next time anyway. So my son will be back eventually. But yeah, shout out to Justice. And yeah, today we're talking NFL top 3 takeaways through 6 weeks, and then NBA season is like 4 or 5 days away. Starts on Tuesday. We're recording this on what, Thursday, so literally like 5 days away. I don't know if that was the right math, but something like that. And we're gonna talk our awards predictions and top 3 sleeper teams for each of us. So before we get started, make sure you guys subscribe to Run It Up Podcast, YouTube, TikTok, everywhere that we are, Apple Podcast, Spotify, all the good stuff. Y'all know if y'all listen to podcasts, you know exactly what to do. Leave the 5-star rating and review. You can find me on Twitter at Najee Adams _, the pod on Twitter at Run It Up Pod, Khalil on Twitter at Belil44. Still the same handle. We good? And Justice, I'm not gonna lie, bro changes his handle every now and then. I don't know if it's Jay Reed. I don't know if it's Justice Reed. I'll tell you right now, it's Jay Reed _ JAYREID _. So make sure you go follow my boy. But before we get into it, we got to do song of the week.
Oh crap, you do.
Khalil, my brother. Khalil, I mean, my song of the week is from a top 5 Drake album all time. I know people are saying that it's his worst album ever. I promise you it's not. Please go back, listen to these albums.
You
For all
think
the dogs.
for all the dogs? You
Yes,
think it's
yes,
the
sir.
top five?
I spit that out of my ass just now, but I don't know if it's top 5, but it's definitely not bottom 2. I'll be honest. I think his is nothing. Take Care is my favorite Drake album. Nothing was the same. If you're reading this, it's great.
Views.
I'm Views, Scorpion. I'm a big Scorpion fan. I'm a big Views fan. I think Scorpion has fell down my list a little bit.
So
I might
bloated.
I might put For All the Dogs on all above Scorpion. I'm not gonna lie.
Scorpion,
Um,
bro. Second
her,
half is great.
her loss. And honestly, never mind. Yeah, I think that. Oh, Dark Lane demo tapes, the care package. She's got a lot of albums.
Verified lover.
Certified Lover Boy, CLB. Yeah, completely forgot about CLB. But yeah, I would say For All the Dogs for me is a lot of people. I think that people talk about the Drake cycle a lot. I think it's a very true thing that it comes out, you hate it, you start listening to it, and then it's like, oh wow, this is actually pretty good. I skipped the hating part. I've liked it from the beginning, I will say. Um, so yeah, I think my favorite song on that album is a controversial one. Uh, but it is Calling for You featuring 21 Savage.
Man,
The skit in the middle really ruins it,
people hate
but the
and
skit in the middle,
I've never seen so many people also turn against 21 Savage so quickly.
that people hate
That
the
was
verse. I
that
mean,
was
it's
crazy.
not anything crazy. Like it's a throwaway verse.
Bro, he's been doing the same thing for the past what year or
Exactly.
whatever, and people have been eating it
Exactly.
up. And
Exactly.
then he pops on this album that people just happen to hate, and then now they hate him for that verse, or I don't know.
Exactly. I think it was
Their
a
fault.
very calm album. I mean, a very calm verse out of 21 Savage. But yeah, I'm gonna go for Calling for You. I love the beginning part of it. The Drake part of it alone is top notch Drake right there. And the skit, we can skip past that. And 21 Savage is whatever. But that is my song of the week. It'll be in the bio, the description. Khalil, talk to me, bro.
Real quick, there's a few songs I could probably do without on that album. Like if I'm
What?
like,
Tell me.
sometimes I like to cut Drake albums because like Scorpion, I mentioned that I think it was too bloated. Um,
Do
I think
you are you a guy that downloads songs to your library, like the ones you like, or do you just kind of
so I download the album, but then I also just like have a playlist of like songs that I go off of.
all right?
Like
How
that.
many do you have that you like?
Honestly, most of them. So like, I'm gonna be honest. I can do without Daylight.
I didn't download Daylight. I don't like Daylight.
I can do without Daylight. I can do without the first half of Fear of Heights. That
The Rihanna disses.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
weird. I'm gonna be honest, it was
yeah.
weird.
I'm not the biggest fan of Fear Heights.
I like Calling for You, so I kept that on there.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, the rest is fine. The rest is fine. So like what maybe two or three songs, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to trim down a little more, but I think the rest is fine. I like the album. Um, people talk about Drake and how I don't know what they want from Drake at this point. That's different than what he's always given us. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I will go back and listen to like Nothing Was the Same sometimes, and of course he's just not that. He's not that point in his life. People talk about like, oh, Drake doesn't sound hungry anymore, or he doesn't. He's just bored or whatever it looks like. He makes a lot of money.
Makes a lot of money. It's hard to talk about reaching the top over and over in your raps when you're at the top. I'll be honest.
And his life experiences are different now. Like
Yeah,
he's incorporating his son more into the music, which is cool. He released his own freestyle. That was funny.
that was
Uh,
incredible. And the
yeah.
Daylight.
But I don't know what they're wanting from him at this point. And he's a single guy. He'll be 37 soon or whatever it looks like. So I don't know what they're expecting. But I think it's a fun album. I think there's some really good stuff. I think it goes well with the title For All the Dogs. Like there's a little bit of everything on the album. Some really good
Mm-hmm.
R&B stuff. There's some really good rap stuff. He had really good features as well for younger audiences too. But I think it translates well. I don't think his verse on that Yeet song was great.
Me
But,
either.
but I like the Yeet song.
I
I
like
like
the Eat song a
Yeet
lot.
was
Just
nice.
just to put in like just to play in the background. I like the Eat song.
Yeah, I'll work out to that, and that
Mm-hmm.
Yeet song's tough. I'll listen to it just for Yeet, honestly. But I thought it was a good album. And my song of the week, transitioning to that one. I already tweeted about it a while ago. You had something to say about it, but I'm gonna go ahead
Rich
and say it
Baby
again.
Daddy.
Rich Baby Daddy is my song of the week.
I'll be honest, bro. I was like, yeah, I do not like this song. And then I heard it out. Like I was out somewhere and they played it,
Yeah,
and I was like, ah. I was like, you got me.
that's all it
Because
takes. You just gotta go out. I mean, I don't go out, but like I live in Campbell. I live in a small town.
yeah, you know, because
But
like,
like,
yeah.
but like that song, the beat, it's incredible. I thought Drake was great on the beat. SZA's part is probably the best and like best part of the song entirely. Sexy Red was fine. I don't think her chorus was terrible either. Like people were talking about, oh, she's so loud or a little provocative, whatever. I thought it was fun. It's a great song. It's fun to listen to, and if you go out, I'm sure it's amazing at that point.
Nah,
It's
yeah, bro.
another level.
I could live without the Sexy Red verse. I think the hook is I think the hook is fire. Like I don't
Yeah.
it is what it is. Like what do you expect? And yeah, bro, we was just chilling. They was playing like throwbacks or whatever, and then they dropped the Rich Baby Daddy, and I was like,
That's a
okay, you got me.
that's a club joint, bro.
Like I'm
That's a
hooked.
club joint, man.
Yeah, I was like, all right, this is fire. It's
And
a little
music's always
vibe.
been like that. Like like we've had explicit, we like provocative, whatever music like, for forever. Like
Yeah,
there's some old cuts that we still bump to. That's like they were saying some crazy
some
stuff. But like
crazy. Yeah,
it ain't
yeah,
nothing different than what we
nothing
got
different.
now.
No, 100%. But yeah, I got to give you your props because you believed in Rich Baby Daddy when I did
Yeah,
not. So
for
I came
sure.
around. I came around to it. When I heard you were actually what I thought of because it came on. I was like, damn, close right. This shit kind of a vibe. This shit go on.
It's clean,
So
man. It's clean.
so yeah, those are our songs of the week. It'll be in the description. So yeah, we'll get into the NFL stuff. I said this to you off camera, but I've been dying to talk football with you, bro. I feel like I have not, you're my football connoisseur, and I feel like I have really not been able to soak in the knowledge that you provide on a weekly basis to me in a while.
I
So
appreciate it. I'm all right, but I appreciate it.
so, bro, I'll start with you. Like, we're 6 weeks through the NFL season. A lot's been going on. A lot of football has been played. A lot of football still to be played. What is one takeaway so far that you have, gained from 6 weeks through the NFL season?
I'll start close to home with this one. I'm a Titans fan. Titans suck, man.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it, and I had to check on everything. But we're 2-4 right now. Excuse me. I believe so. We had John Robinson as a GM before we hired Rand. It's been rough for the past few years. Our drafts have really set us back. We made some moves. We took some shots on people. It's like Caleb Farley, for instance, first round cornerback we drafted out of Virginia Tech, had a lot of promise, super athletic, but also had some injuries all throughout college as well, like some back injuries and some really concerning stuff. But like if he were to be healthy, like that's like probably the best cornerback coming out of that draft. It just hasn't worked out yet. And then we traded AJ Brown one year. That should say everything. That should say everything. Traded our number one wide receiver. A difference maker on the team, and it's something you learn to cope with, and you try to, especially if you bring in Burks. It's not like Burks coming out, but he just hasn't been healthy either. Got hurt a lot last season, but also showed some flashes last season, and then just hasn't been able to play really at all. Leading up to this season too. So it's been rough that way. We just have missed on a lot of stuff in the draft, and it's really set us back. And in contracts, whether you want to talk about Ryan Tannehill, not putting us in a great place, sometimes with his play, but also just financially is at that point. Offensive line's pretty poor. Spent money on Andre Dillard. Now Andre Dillard's he's not panning out. We need him to. That's terrible. Last year had the worst right tackle or left tackle, or the worst tackle in football with Dennis Daly. It's just been a lot of bad stuff happening. We had some bright spots here right now. I think we got Tyjae Spears. He's been really good. Probably needs more touches, even though he plays quite a bit as well. DeAndre Hopkins is cool, but we just aren't that type of team, and he's not that type of receiver anymore to really put us over the top offensively. Defense, there's a lot to hang the hat on, but I think the defensive backs are usually a weak spot on our team, or just a secondary in general. We've missed on cornerbacks with Kristen Fulton. Still waiting on McCreary to pop off a little bit. So it's rough right now. I thought we brought in some really good signings, but I just don't think we're in a great place. I don't know what a rebuild with Coach Vrabel looks like as well. That's kind of weird. I think he's an amazing coach. We won more games than we should have last season after all those injuries, and we're in a spot to make the playoffs. Just wasn't able to make it out with Josh Dobbs against the Jaguars. But there's some good stuff there, but I just think there's just too much to redeem from, I guess. Like we drafted 2 quarterbacks in the past 2 years. That is looking really weird now. The quarterback we just drafted in the second round is third string. The guy we drafted, I can't remember where Malik was, third, fourth, something like that. He's second string. Didn't look great last year. Played when Ryan Tannehill got hurt. Probably going to play this week as well. I didn't have a chance to look at the film, but he wasn't able to pass the ball at all. Sometimes when we get the camera view of the actual field when he's actually out there, it's like there's no one to throw to. No one's open. So no one's open, and then also he only has 2.5 seconds to throw the ball before someone's in his face. So there's not much he can do, and no one can concede or succeed under that pressure, especially a second-year guy who came in very raw, and we saw that first year, of course. So Titans are in a rough spot. I'd love to say just blow it up. I don't know what that looks like either, and that sounds like a really scary place. A very scary place.
I was about to ask you, there's a couple of things with the whole blow it up thing. So, blow it up. Would you trade Derrick Henry? Are you ready to let go of Derrick Henry?
That would really hurt. Derrick Henry, it's a staple at this point, and that's a Titan legend. I guess for the right price for sure, but it's a scary place to think about.
No, I feel you. I think the trading Derrick Henry thing is tough because I like Tyjae Spears. I didn't like Tyjae Spears coming into the year because I was pretty sold on the knee thing, the missing ACLs. I was really scared about that. Yeah. But he looks pretty fine. I think it's tough to trade Derrick Henry and make him your lead back. I think he's good in doses right now, but it was 7th. If you were to trade him this week, it would be his 7th NFL game to be oh yeah, just go out there and produce right now. I think that's tough to do. Or whenever you trade him to just thrust a rookie into an increased role, especially when there are health issues, is a tough thing to do. But As for like, I think it's why they won't blow it up is because the AFC South doesn't have like a super dominant team, right? Obviously, the Jags are like the standouts there, beat the Bills. But like the Jags aren't bulletproof, like they're not invincible. The Jags can be beaten. The Colts, they just lost Anthony Richardson for the season. So now they're led by Gardner Minshew. The whole Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor thing is still kind of weird. So like the Colts are vulnerable. The Texans, obviously, CJ Stroud has been incredible. But like he's still a rookie quarterback, and eventually I think a lot of people believe he'll hit a wall. The Texans are 3-3 right now. The Colts are 3-3. The Jags are 4-2. You guys are 2-4. Like the division is still very much open through 6 weeks of football. So I feel like the Jags won't blow it up because they feel like the division isn't out of reach just yet. Um, I do want to ask you, like, what do you think is your best option at QB? Like, I don't like, does a Ryan Tannehill trade help you? Is Malik Willis the guy? Like, do you start Will Levis just to see what he's got? Because I feel like most people believe the upside with Will Levis is higher than the upside with Malik Willis, at least at this point in time. But I don't know. What would you do?
I still think the best option is probably Ryan Tannehill at the end of the day, which isn't saying a lot because it's not a great
Yeah.
option either. Like I still think he's a fine quarterback. He's smart for the most part, makes some really stupid decisions sometimes. And he's lost his mobility for the most part, especially within the pocket and being able to can't create very much. Which sucks. He used to be pretty athletic and he used to be able to move, but he's just getting older, so it's different. So I think Ryan Tannehill is still the best option. And I think going to a Malik Willis or a Will Levis is just going to the point of like, we're looking at our options, of course, but it might be leaning more towards a rebuild, whatever that looks like. I think Ryan's I think this is 1 year last year or something like that. I'm pretty sure we'd be able to save some money getting rid of him, but yeah, I still think he's the best option. It's just still not a great option given the circumstances with our offensive line. The weapons are not great. We're not explosive at all. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through and a lot of hurdles to overcome. So it's a tough situation, and then you'd be putting your either second year quarterback or your rookie quarterback in that same situation. And I think Will Levis had the struggles coming in that were pretty well documented. He struggled through camp as well. So it's just tough to put another young guy in that situation, similar to what we did to Malik last year, and that wasn't managed very well either. So
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. I think it's tough for the Titans right now, kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. But I'll take you to one of my takeaways. We're gonna go from a 2-4 team to a 5-1 team. I don't know how many 5-1 teams there are. What, 1, 2, 3, 4 5-1 teams? I don't know if you can tell which one I'm talking about, but it is the Miami Dolphins. I feel like it's on document that I'm a Tua guy. I like me some Tua. I know you and Justice were like, oh my God, it's because he has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But I think Tua's pretty good.
I
And
think, yeah, keep going.
I think the Dolphins are for real. I think they're probably the second best team in the AFC. The only thing stopping me from saying they're the best team in the AFC is one singular man named Patrick Mahomes. Like if he was if he was in the other conference, I would think they're the best team in the AFC. But I'm not going to count them out. Super Bowl champs, best quarterback in the league, one of the best QBs of all time. I'll still say the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. But I'm taking the Dolphins as my second best team in the AFC. I think Tua's probably a top 7 quarterback. I want to say top 5 pretty badly. I'll be honest. I think you got Mahomes, you got Allen. I can't think of another QB that's been better than Tua this year.
So you're thinking about top 5 this year. So like,
yeah.
you start all right.
Like Justin Herbert's been great.
You don't care about Joe Burrow anymore? Is he just out of there now?
He hasn't been great.
I mean, yeah, it's hard for me to like be like, oh, just this year. Like, sure, like Tua is probably top 5 this year. You're right.
That's all I need to hear.
I just have a hard time saying he's a top 5 quarterback.
I think top 5
different things.
I think top 5 this year. I think he's probably top 7 overall though. Like, right? I feel like that's not crazy to say.
Let's go overall. So let's go. So the way I like to look at it, I like to think, who am I starting my team with? Like, who's the guy, basically.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to draft the quarterback, if I had a team, who am I putting out there to play quarterback? Just an average team. Who's the guy? So I go with Mahomes. I'd go with Josh Allen. Um, let's see, who's three for me? Three, I might. Sometimes I lean Joe Burrow over Herbert. I want to say
Mm-hmm.
Herbert, but there's some weird stuff with Herbert. We might be able to talk about it later. Who knows? But there's some weird stuff with Herbert. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go Joe Burrow.
Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow.
Oh no, okay. So for me, I'm going Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Jackson, Herbert.
Mm-hmm. That's five. You
That's
got
fine.
two.
Yeah.
Two.
Trevor.
Okay.
I right now I'm not even going in order. I'm just saying who I take over two at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like starting my team. So I got Herbert. Sorry, I'm going through. I'm going through it.
No, take your time, brother. I think probably you'd say Hurts, right?
Take Hurts. Yeah, thank you. Jalen Hurts. Um, I'm really thinking about Matt Stafford.
Okay. I don't
That's
think that's a
another
hot take.
that's another person that comes to mind. And then
I mean, you've said seven, so that
I'm probably about to say like CJ Stroud or something too.
okay. Come on, let's stop it. Nope, nope.
CJ
I
Stroud.
would have accepted Jared Goff. That's about it.
Give me AR. But no, two is definitely in the top 10. Just to go on my little tangent a little bit. It's well documented that I'm not a Tua believer. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a big Tua fan.
No,
Neither is Justice.
no.
He is limited in some ways, especially with certain physical traits that we've seen before, especially earlier in his career, which also weren't great situations, if we're being fair. And I kind of like, I talk about that and give context, and I believe in context, and I need to do the same for Tua. But I think Tua has struggled struggled early on in his career, but coaching was a big part, and I'll go into coaching later. But coaching was a big part there, and also just like the structure of the team, offensive line struggled, weapons, whatever that looked like too. But Tua has also some other elite traits aside from the physical stuff. Throws with a lot of anticipation. Um, Very accurate, very smart quarterback for the most part too, and really knows how to, like nickel and dime, like really just distribute the ball. He's like you can like compare him to like a really good point guard. It's full control of the offense, knows where to go with the ball, trusts a lot in the offense too, which I think says a lot as well. I think you go back to that relationship he has with McDaniel, what that's meant for him, and a kind of like a resurgence in his career. So he trusts it. He trusts the structure that's in place with for him, and of course, like he has Tyreek Hill, he has Waddle, he has a amazing scheme to run. They got Achane now. Is it Achan? Achan? I always
Chan, yeah.
forget Achan. Yeah, Raheem Mostert. They're a fast team, like insanely fast. So I think I think this is like the perfect situation for him. Like the structure of the team, the play calling, the scheme, the personnel is great. And they maximize everything he does well, which is all you can ask for in a quarterback. We see a lot of other talented quarterbacks in situations that's not even close to that, and they struggle. But Tua is in a great situation to where he can get the ball out fast, which is what he's good at. Quick release, super accurate, and then also throws a lot of anticipation. And sometimes can operate out of structure a little bit, not a whole bunch, but a little bit. But he has some really good traits, and it seems like his teammates love him too. So I have no reason to hate on Tua. He is a good QB. He's top 10 for sure. There are other guys that I would take still over him. I still think there's validity to the conversation about like what's around him. But if we're going to like, you need a QB needs stuff around him. Not everyone can be Mahomes or Josh Allen. Everybody needs something. It's not fair to always pit that against him, especially when he's operating at such a high level within the offense. I don't think a lot of people can do what I don't think a lot of people can do what he's doing within an offense once you go outside of the top 10. So
Mm.
I can't count that against them.
No, I feel that, and I think thank you for giving my boys credit. I think that's much deserved.
I'm not happy about it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll take it though.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I'm just joking.
I think for me, I would probably, when we talk about top, I think top 10 is a lock. I'd probably say top 7 for me is a lock. This season, I think top 3 for me is where I kind of put him. I think Mahomes, Allen, him. I can't think of a ton of other QBs that have been better. I think Justin Herbert, like you kind of said, there's some weird stuff there. Hyper efficient just doesn't necessarily always equate to wins. And that has kind of been the case throughout his entire career. Trevor, I think the Jags have struggled. I think he struggled in the beginning. I think he's starting to turn a page now. I'm pretty sure they're beating up on the Saints as we speak.
Yeah.
And so Trevor's starting to turn a page. Jalen Hurts, I don't think he's been great at all. I think he was a big reason for them losing that game to who they just lose to?
Jets.
The Jets. Yeah, he was a big reason in them losing that game to the Jets. He's thrown a lot of bad interceptions this year. And I think that's just kind of growing pains. And like he really took the leap last year. And so teams have had a whole off season now to kind of game plan for the Eagles, game plan for him, see what he likes to do, stop him from doing what he likes to do. I think Jalen Hurts will turn it around though. I'm a Jalen Hurts believer. But I think this season calling a spade too has been better. And the Dolphins are just they probably have the best offense I've ever seen, really. Like through 6 weeks. Like it's insane. Dolphins running backs alone have scored more points than 9 NFL teams. Like that's insane. Like
It's crazy.
that's crazy. And now Devon Achane is on IR, so that's tough. But Raheem Mostert is still cranking out 100-yard games like it's nothing. I think they average like 180 rushing yards a game. They have 39 more points than the second closest team. And obviously they scored 70. So it's pretty tough to not have more points than every other team when you do that. But that in itself is a feat. Yeah, I think their defense is their kryptonite as it has been for a couple of years. But they have beaten up on a bunch of bad teams. So I'll see what they really start to look like versus the Eagles this upcoming week and the Chiefs. I think 2 weeks from now. I think these next 3 weeks will be big in showing what kind of caliber team they really are. Like it's easy to beat up on the Broncos and teams like that and the Panthers. It's easy to beat teams like that. But the Bills came into town and they pretty much shut the Dolphins down, absolutely smoked them. And so they play the Eagles this week, I want to say. And so we'll see what they look like against the Eagles. Then I think they play the Chiefs in week like 9. So we'll see what they look like against the Chiefs.
I think that's the biggest part about it for me sometimes is when he's going up against quarterbacks like that. Sometimes you're gonna have to do it out with those guys. You're gonna have to show up in big spots, make big throws, and really, put the team on your back. And that's something that I just question sometimes. When it comes to going up against guys like your Josh Allens and your Mahomes, because that's probably who he's going to run into once we get into the playoffs, right? And we've seen at least Patrick Mahomes do it at a high level and get his team to the Super Bowl and win, of course. So it's now just like, so even when you talked about Dolphins being the second best team in the AFC and then you go to the Chiefs, it's like you keeping the Chiefs at 1 because of Mahomes, because we've seen him do it before. It's hard for me to even pick someone else other than the Chiefs right now, simply because of Mahomes and what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of just have to see it. Yeah. So I just question sometimes, what that part looks like, and so I'm interested to see him go up against those guys, and we've already seen it this year, the Bills, and what that looked like. So just really something to keep an eye on.
No, I feel that. What's your second takeaway, brother? What else have you been seeing?
I talked about it a little bit. I think coaching is huge. I think sometimes we don't always factor that into takes and give the proper context. And there's a lot of stuff that we just don't know what goes on inside the locker room. But coaching is very important, and I think we've seen that in a few different teams in good ways and bad ways. So you talked about the Eagles earlier with Jalen Hurts. I think coaching kind of hit them a lot on offense and on defense. Losing a Steichen and losing a Gannon, I think put them in this weird funk, I guess you could say. So like everything is still the same, and they got better in some different ways. They added Jalen Carter. The offensive line is still there. You bring in a DeAndre Swift. You still got AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, like all those things. So you've gotten better. But something is still missing as far as the creativity with that offense, and then also just the rhythm and the smoothness in that offense too. So sometimes there are times when I think Hurts is does seem uncomfortable, or they don't always have answers to certain problems that they see out of defenses. And then also, like, they have this weird tendency to pass the ball a lot when they probably don't need to, don't have to.
I think they
It kind of
struggle to close games.
yeah. So like they get away from the run game, which is like, you got an offensive line like that, and you got some running backs you can run with, and you got Jalen Hurts, of course. Like they just have this tendency to get away from the run and pass a little bit too much. Now, of course, you got AJ Brown, you got Devonta Smith, you got Goddard. You got some guys who can really do stuff with it. So you got to get them the ball, of course, and even keep those guys happy to some extent. I just think there's just this weird tendency with them to, and then this was even last year sometimes too. But I think we're seeing, like, we're not seeing the same exact team that we saw last year throughout this way, just because of the coaching and what's missing a little bit on both sides of the ball when it comes to just certain nuance and creativity. When it comes to game planning and putting guys in the right positions. And then when it goes to, like, if you go to the Chicago Bears with Justin Fields, I'm thinking about your tweets whenever I think about Justin Fields. The first half, I thought
Him hurting his thumb, it killed me, man.
it's tough.
It killed me.
It's tough. But even when you go back to his quotes about having too much go on in his ear, he's out there playing a game and he's thinking too much. He can't actually just go out there and play the game he knows how to play that he's been playing for a while. So that, I think that has a lot to do with his success, of course, the structure there. And he's had different moments of coaching where it's like, why isn't he running the ball more? Why are they doing more QB runs? What are they doing on offense? They got Chase Claypool out there as far as personnel goes. So I think coaching plays a big part in guys and their success a little bit more than we give it credit for sometimes. So situation can become everything at that point. And then we go back to Tua and the Dolphins, and starting off his career and being with the Flores, who I love as a coach, and I think he was great. For the most part, but they had a weird relationship, and Tua wasn't put in positions to succeed, even with around him with the offensive line and weapons. But now we see a coach that believes in him, that encourages him, and they've actually put people around him to help him succeed. So now we're seeing the best of Tua. We're seeing Tua be a top-3 quarterback in your eyes for this season, but it's saying a lot. So I don't think we put enough into coaching sometimes, and just situation. Personnel. I think we put too much on the players at times, and we can have this. We just take the context out of it and the humanity out of it sometimes. And it's like, and sometimes it's like people just haven't been around sports or haven't been immersed in sports, so like they don't always speak from a understanding, I guess, from a position of understanding. But I just want to talk about coaching and putting people in right positions. We've seen it with other guys like CJ Stroud, really good coaching staff. D'Amico Ryans has been great. We see guys like Justin Herbert not do well pretty much at all, and it's pretty documented as far as how people feel about Staley and what he's done and what that looks like, and even Kellen Moore being a really good ad, but still, I think Staley at the end of the day holds them back. Also being a defensive coach, and then sometimes the defensive personnel not being there all the way, but he still can't always get it together. It's just weird. So I think coaching needs to matter a little bit more when it comes to takes and context. And I even say that for myself when it comes to guys like Tua and other situations as well.
No, I completely agree with you. I think people kind of discount how important losing OCs and DCs are in off seasons. Like, I think you've seen with the Cowboys, like, they've struggled without Kellen Moore. Like, their offense has not been as prolific as it usually is, and I think they're starting to figure it out. But like, that's a massive adjustment to have someone different calling plays, to have someone different in the headset, to how just like in the way that offensive coordinators speak to quarterbacks, like cadences, just different things. Like, that takes a lot of time to kind of mesh with, and I think that people don't necessarily understand that. Like, even with Brian Dable leaving the Bills, going to the Giants, like the Bills offense is look, they're so inconsistent. Like they'll look unstoppable one week and won't be able to score 14 points on the more than 14 points on the Giants in the next, like the Giants, they like leak points and the Bills just could not figure out how to get it going.
And
And
then the
I
part of
think
that goes back to coaching because you got Dayball over there, who's an amazing coach. He's great. Giants are 1-5 right now. We don't have to talk about it. But he who knows Josh Allen better than
exactly.
Coach Dayball, right? Who we saw a dip in Allen's play last year. He had a really weird stretch. Had the injury as well too, but just had a weird stretch of decision making and all that stuff. And he's really picked it up here recently after an odd start as well. But like coaching matters. He lost his guy, and we saw a dip in performance last year. And I think it's gotten better, but the offense is, like you said, inconsistent. And some of that's also like personnel. Like they need another guy or two.
And like Josh Allen does a lot of great things. He also does a lot of not great things sometimes. And I think his gift is his curse. And a lot of the time, like his ability to make those tough throws, you kind of just have to live with when they don't work out. Like when they do work out, he looks like the best quarterback on planet Earth. And when they don't, you kind of start to think, is this our guy? And I think that is kind of just what comes with Josh Allen, and that's what makes him great. I did want to ask you though, this is like separate from my takeaways, and your Justin Fields brought it up, but what is your thought? Like, are you a Justin Fields guy? Like, what are your thoughts on Justin? Because I love him. I personally love that man.
Sorry, my iPad's like being weird to eat too, so I'm just trying to like.
It's okay.
It's okay, Khalil. I really just want to turn it off. Hold on. So guys is edited, right?
Gotta love Siri.
How do I feel about Justin Fields?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys. So I'll speak from this perspective first. Like as far as like football knowledge goes and trying to learn more about the game, like I played football. Played football since I was a little kid. Played high school, college football. At the high level. Really fun. Learned a lot. Met a lot of great people, coaches. So I have experience in the game, and then also just trying to learn more after the game and whatever that looks like, and then paying attention to people who know stuff about the game, following them, watching them, listening to them, and also just being able to make my own takes and learn my own things and cultivate my knowledge, from all that type of stuff. So like I watch guys like JT O'Sullivan, QB School, like people love him, right?
That's appointment viewing for me.
Yeah, that's the dude. That's the dude. Chris Sims. I love Chris Sims. He does a couple podcasts a week, and he has some film reviews, some recaps and stuff. And I love what he offers, what he has to offer, and some of his takes for the NFL and stuff too, and just about football. Brett Coleman, just guys like that. I put a lot of stock into what they say, and I take that and then I do whatever I need to do with that. But going to Justin Fields, there were I feel like there were some concerns coming out of college, especially with his throwing and being consistent at the NFL level. And he did a lot of he made a lot of changes to his mechanics, and a lot of changes for the better. And that says a lot about him as a player, the work ethic he puts in, and how seriously he takes the game. And he's always been a baller at Ohio State, always been a baller since he got in, and especially when you let him loose. The earlier struggles in the season really concerned me a lot, and that kind of goes back to the structure around him as well. But he just wasn't seeing the field. His throwing looked a little bit off. He didn't look confident. The decision making was not great. Held on to the ball way too long. So some of that, I think a lot of that was him, but also a lot of that was the coaching. So if you put stock into what he was talking about with the coaches being in his ear and just kind of being there a little bit, hovering a little bit too much, and him not being able to play his game, there's real validity to that. But also what's on the film is what's on the film. He was struggling. And he just wasn't seeing much at all, and he was just overthinking it. But I think he is super talented. The running is real, as you know. It is he's one of the, if not the best runner in football as far as the quarterback position. He's right behind your Lamar Johnson, or whatever. If he's not one, he's two. And then the throwing, I think we've seen enough flashes to know that the throwing could be a lot better than what we've seen before. It's just getting it to a consistent basis. And I think a lot of that is him being able to use his legs in the run game, but also, what are you putting around him? So they brought in the DJ Moore, which helps out a lot. Shipped out a Chase Claypool, which helps out a lot. But also, like, offensive line needs to improve as well. Play calling needs to put him in right positions to succeed until we can get him to a point of being consistent. And some of that comes with confidence and repetition. But I think I feel a lot better about him than I did earlier in the season. I didn't write him off, but like for instance, like in fantasy, I stayed away from him. I stayed away from him before the season. I stayed away from him in trades during the season, anything like that. Like I was just nervous. But I think we've seen a little bit more here recently to feel much better about him. It's just, how can we also put him in the right position to succeed and maximize his talents? And I think it's all there. It's just, can he put it together? And I feel like he can. He just needs the opportunity in that right situation, I think, personally.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people with Justin Fields, it's either one or the other. Like people either feel like, hey, he's a bad quarterback, or the Bears, it's all the Bears' fault. They are not doing anything to help him. And I think the answer is like somewhere in between. Like I think both can be true right now. Like, is Justin this great quarterback right now? No, I don't think he is. I think, like you said, I think he struggles to read the field. He's slow through his progressions. I think he might hold on to the ball a bit too much. He struggles knowing when to run and when to pass and kind of finding that proper balance, like kind of how Lamar has. Like usually when Lamar's running, like it's the right time to run. And when he's passing, it's the right time to pass. And I think Justin struggles with that. I also think he and like the QB school, like watching the QB schools breakdowns has really showed me like Justin really does lack like anticipation. Like on comeback routes, he doesn't throw it until they're open, or like in like deep ends, he's not throwing it until they're open. Like you got to have some sort of trust in your receiver to have the ball at them when they turn around so they can catch it and run. Granted, DJ Moore is just great after the catch anyway. So a lot of the time it doesn't matter. Like in that game, that Thursday night football game versus the Commanders, I felt like a lot of those were late and it didn't matter because DJ Moore was catching it, breaking a tackle, and running for 60 yards. And so it just kind of, Justin still has a long way to go, but I do think the like when you look at what the Bears are working with, like to never have a 4,000-yard receiver, 4,000-yard passer, like as a franchise, like something's got to be up here, like something's got to be wrong organizationally. I think personnel wise, like he's not working with much. Like DJ Moore's great. Cole Kmet is average.
It's fine.
Cole Kmet's average. Darnell Mooney is okay. And
Probably
then
number 3.
and then after that, what are you working with? Like Dante Pettis, Equinemius St. Brown, like like I don't really know what you go to. Tyler Scott out of Cincy, like he was their rookie that they bought in. He's speedster, but he forgets routes every now and then. Like he's not ready to play, like to have a big role in the offense. And then you look at the running game.
They're all injured.
They're all injured, and like I think Khalil Herbert's fine, but like the reason why Justin isn't able to run a lot of these read option plays is because like they're not worried about what, like they'll live for what Khalil Herbert's doing. If you're the defense, I'm selling out on stopping Justin because I've seen him gash teams for 80-yard runs. I've seen him get hot and blow a game open. If you're killing, like I just don't think defense really believe in Khalil Herbert all too much. So that kind of ruins what they do in the option game. And like that, the pass protection is horrible. They've got to have one of the worst O lines in the league. They miss assignments, flat out don't know what rushes are coming. And yeah, bro, I think the play calling could be better. I think that it lands in the middle of both, and that's why they're a bad team, right? Like,
yeah,
maybe below average quarterback play right now, combined with pretty bad play calling plus bad personnel equals bad team. Like
it's gonna be bad. It's a bad situation.
It's what it is. It's a bad situation. Now, do I think that some people are saying with the thumb injury he might not play again? Has he played his last game for Chicago? I don't think so. I think for whatever it is, like I think they do believe in him as a coaching staff. Like I think they believe in Justin. Now, if you get the number 1 pick, do you not take Caleb Williams over and like trade Justin? I think you probably
last week. Sorry, he
did have a stinker. He did have a stinker. Ooh, they played Notre Dame, right? Yeah, he had a stinker, and now USC's ranked like 14. And
I'm a big Caleb guy, and that was not good.
I'm a big Caleb guy too. I didn't get to watch the game. I saw Colorado was up 29-0, and then I turned the game off, and then they ended up losing. So I was like, all right, this is just insane. But yeah, I'm a big Caleb guy. I'm a big Shador guy. I'm not the biggest Drake May guy. I'm a big Michael Penix guy. I like this QB class. I'm not a
Bro, there was
massive Jordan Travis guy, but it is what it is.
I was on Instagram the other day, and there was this clip of he said it's Mike Penix, right?
Yeah.
That sounds weird what I'm saying. I'm trying not to say it.
Oh no, you're
Quarterback
fine.
for
You're good.
Washington. Quarterback for Washington, but they were playing Oregon. They're playing Oregon, and it was a super tight game, super close game. He has to lead like this comeback drive or something, or game winning drive, and he's there's a clip of him on the sideline, and you see him like bobbing his head, and he's like freestyling about a comeback to one of his teammates, and then he goes out in the field and just leads him to a comeback. It was just crazy to me. Like it's like
I
that's
like
some of the
Michael
dog stuff,
Penix,
right?
man. That's what I'm saying. I like him. I like Shador. I like Caleb. I'm not the most massive Drake May fan. Um, but it is what it is. I am down to be proven wrong. And like, yeah, I think Jordan Travis is fine. I low key am a Spencer Rattler guy just because I feel like my guy got written off, and obviously he hasn't been great. But I like me some Spencer Rattler. That's my little dark horse. Um, but yeah, I think if the Bears get the number one pick, because the Panthers are 0-6 and they have their pick, so looking like they're probably gonna get the number one pick. I don't know what they do. I don't know what they do from the Bears. I probably take Caleb just because of the upside, but if I'm the Bears GM, I'm rocking with Justin. I'm taking me some Marvin Harrison, and we making something shake. Um,
Yeah, I don't know what Ryan Poles would do. GM, I think he's the GM. I don't know what
mhm.
he would do, and then also, I think coaching might come into play with it. Like, are they gonna keep their coaching staff? What does that look like going forward?
I don't know. Eberflus, I don't know if he's proven enough to be a NFL head coach. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Luke Getzey's their offensive coordinator. I'm not a big fan of Luke Getzey either. So it is what it is. That wasn't
Hey,
even my that wasn't even my takeaway. I just wanted to talk Justin Fields because that's my guy.
if Ben Johnson's out in the market, though, man,
Yes, hey,
he's out
yes,
in the
hey.
market though.
I
He's
love me some
he's
Ben
gonna get
Johnson.
he's gonna get a job, and
100%.
he's gonna get paid.
Um, My second takeaway after all this is actually completely not bear related. Is actually that I think that it's probably a lost season for the Cincinnati Bengals, and they were in my Super Bowl. Come like when I was thinking about who's going to be in Super Bowl, we didn't pod, so I didn't say this on like
Right.
wax, but I had them in my Super Bowl. I was big into the Bengals. I'm big into the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow's great. I don't know what happened. I think maybe the calf injury, his lack of time in training camp really ruined them. uh, the Bengals don't really play a lot of guys. Zach Taylor doesn't really play a lot of guys in the preseason anyway. Like they're always we're not playing our guys in the preseason, and they always start slow. So maybe that should be something they adjust, because maybe you should get your guys some live game reps before you go out there week one against a team that's been playing football for 3 weeks. But yeah, I think the calf injury really put them back. The AFC North is one of the better divisions. I think the Steelers' offense is absolutely horrible, but Mike Tomlin finds a way to get 8 wins every single season. The Browns probably have the best defense in the league. First team to stop the 49ers from scoring 30 in like 14 games. They didn't even score 20 against the Browns.
Crazy.
Like they're a lockup. And the Ravens, the Ravens are the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, they're probably my favorite team in that division. And so like it's not like they're going to get a cakewalk to win the division, and their offense just looks broken. Like obviously T Higgins missed a game. Joe Mixon is very inefficient. Joe Burrow is a statue for like the first 3-4 weeks of the season. He's finally starting to get some more mobility now, but they're averaging the sixth least points in the NFL, 16.7. Last year, they had the seventh most at 26.1. So something's off there. I don't exactly know what it is. Like, I think Joe Burrow kind of working his way into the season is what it is. But regardless, like guys aren't getting open outside of Jamar, it just is what it is. I think maybe lack of a tight end, it kind of is throwing them off, because those, easy open completions for Joe Burrow isn't really there. But I don't know. I think the Bengals might be cooked this season. I'm not gonna lie. If you were to ask me now, I think they probably missed the playoffs, which is a massive, massive failure as an organization. But maybe 3, maybe 2 teams in that division are better than them. I think the Ravens are better than them, and the Browns might be better than them. They just beat the 49ers with PJ Walker, whoever they had at QB. So yeah, I think though they're probably the third best team in that division, and they still have to play a lot of those guys. So I think it's probably a lost season for the Bengals.
I mean, so okay, so let's look at it right now. So you got the Dolphins at 5-1, the
Mm-hmm.
Bills at 4-2. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
they're making the playoffs, right? Chiefs 5-1, playoffs. 3 teams so far, right? Ravens 4-2, playoffs.
Playoffs. I'd say playoffs.
Jaguars 4-2, playoffs. So what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams.
That's
So
5
far.
blocks right there, right? And
Five,
7 make the playoffs.
yeah, 5 blocks right there. So who's in after that? So the Browns best defense in the league, but where is the offense coming up, or
So I'm
Deshaun
looking at
Watson needs to start practicing, but
the playoff picture. Yeah, he's sick. I'm looking at the playoff picture right now. So it's the teams we said are the top 5 seeds. It's Chiefs, Dolphins, Ravens, Jags, Bills. The 6th seed right now is the Steelers in their division,
okay,
and the 7th seed is the Browns.
tough.
And so maybe all right. So out of the 7, right, the Steelers are the ones that probably fall out, and then you have the Jets, who they're 3-3, and they had a tough 6 games. So now
Got to get better, yeah.
yeah, their schedule lightens up. Their defense is legit. You have, and that's really it, to be honest. Oh, and the Chargers, they are 2-3. The AFC West is, outside of the Chiefs, I think they've got a decent chance to finish second there. But it's really between the Raiders are 3-3. I'll be honest. I don't think the Raiders are making noise. So it's between, if the Bills, the Jags, the Ravens, the Dolphins, and the Chiefs are locks, it's between the Steelers, the Browns, the Jets, the Bengals, and the Chargers. 2 of those 5 have to get in.
Yeah.
And I would probably say the Browns get in. Defenses alone, like that Niners game really did it for me. Like I'm locked. I think the Browns are locked. And then you have the Steelers, between the Steelers, the Jets, the Bengals, and the Chargers. Are the Bengals the best team there? Probably. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers or the Jets kind of came around, especially with A-Rod juicing whatever he got to do
I
to
don't know
get
what's
on the
going on. I
field.
don't know what that is.
but
I'm
but
ready.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a lock that the Bengals make the playoffs, which is crazy to say because coming in, I feel like there were a lot of people Super Bowl not favorites, but if you ask someone at the beginning of the season, give me your top 3 teams to win the Super Bowl, most people probably say the Bengals in there. So now to be not a lot for the playoffs is tough.
I think coaching matters there a lot too. Ironically, it's what we talked about earlier. But the offensive end always just kind of lacking a little bit. Personnel has always been a problem, especially on the offensive line. Joe Mixon isn't popping the way he used to. T. Higgins is not having the best season. Might not even come back next season. So it's a really weird situation going on over there in Cincinnati. They got some good stuff going on defense. Of course, Joe Burrow's getting back healthy. But I think this is like an important year for that coaching staff and Zach Taylor. I just think they, like you mentioned it earlier, they just don't do a lot of great stuff on offense, and it's kind of just like, it runs straight through Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, which is really good sometimes, but it's also like there's a lot of pressure on those guys to make something out of nothing, I feel like, and it can be a little basic and too player centric. I think you find it best when you can find a balance in between scheming some guys up and also relying on your playmakers to actually make plays. So they have the playmakers, but sometimes I don't think it's exactly always easy for them or simple. So if they can find ways to do that, I think it gets better on offense. It's just, is that actually going to happen? Are they going to be patient? Are they going to take what's there? So we'll see. But I don't know about the Bengals. The Jets are a weird one. I love Zach Wilson coming out. I still root for Zach Wilson heavily. That
I know
defense is
you're
crazy.
you're the biggest Zach Wilson guy I know, I'll be honest.
And then Breece Hall is a monster.
He's insane. He's nuts. Do you still think Ken Walker's the best back in that class?
No. I don't think so. I love Ken Walker though too, and that's my guy. But Breece is just, for him to come back as soon as he did off that ACL,
and look
injury
like he
and look
hasn't
like
even
that.
lost
Look
a
like that the first
step.
game. Of course, he didn't finish off that huge run, but
Yeah.
even just to do that and then like do what he's done for the past few weeks and kind of carry that offense in a few ways, like that's just crazy to me, and that speaks levels. So it's like I love Kenneth Walker, but Brees Hall is just different, and they need to stop giving the ball to Dalvin Cook as well.
No, yeah, he's cooked. He's
It's,
absolutely cooked.
it's
Um, so kind of move me to what's your third and final takeaway, brother?
So I have two down for here. But you kind of already talked about the other one. My first one, one of the ones I wrote down were the Dolphins. Actually, I think they look great. Scary offense, really good defense. Jalen Ramsey just got activated, I believe, started practicing again, so that's awesome. Coaching staff is great. Everything seems to be in place for them. It's really just seeing it all happen now at this point. I think a lot is going to come on to as far as like responsibility in that offense and really making some plays when guys are there. And we've seen them come up short against a few certain like familiar teams when whether it's like the Chargers or the Bills have some really good game plans for them defensively. So we've seen them, like, if a team has at least a little bit of personnel for them and also scheme, they can be stopped a little bit. So I think it's on them. And Mike McDaniel's a really good coach, and Tua can adapt a little bit, and they have the personnel. So it's like, how do they scheme against what's being taken away from them, especially when it comes to like the middle of the field and stuff. But I'm going to talk about the Texans real quick. I mentioned it earlier when we talk about top 7, top 10 quarterbacks, and we're looking at C.J. Stroud. I think he's been phenomenal this season. It's been actually pretty crazy how he's looked. You don't really see rookie quarterbacks look like this. The dude has every throw in the bag, every club in his bag.
Golf reference, we love it.
Yeah, a little golf reference.
The golfers.
It makes all the throws. He reads the whole field. He knows where to go with the ball. The throwing is just, he makes it look so easy. Like he can make every throw, arm angles. He can improvise a little bit, get outside the pocket, which was like a huge knock on him coming out. And then you go to that Georgia game, and it's like, well, okay, is it real, or is it just like a one game type of thing? It's real. I'm not saying he's like a Justin Fields type of guy, of course, or Patrick Mahomes as far as just creating and using his legs, but he does it enough, and he's good enough to do that. But again, makes all the throws with anticipation, and it's not like going into the season like you could say the Texans had the worst receiving core in the NFL, or just like one of the most underwhelming receiving cores in the NFL. You got an older Robert Woods, you got an Nico Collins who hasn't panned out yet. What are we going to get from Tank Dell? Mechie getting back healthy, they get a Dalton Schultz, bring him in, but this offense has really popped, and of course the coaching is really good. Come from a Shanahan tree, I believe, but CJ just takes it a whole other level, and you can see the trust they have in CJ. They believe in him. They put a lot on his shoulders, and he pretty much delivers. He's looked good in pretty much every game. He had a weird second half this past game through his first interception and all that type of stuff too. But he's looked great. He's looked phenomenal. Looks like a vet back there. Again, reads the whole field, throws with anticipation, drives the ball just beautifully. Has a lot of arm strength there that I think snuck up on people. You can just see he's going to be a top 10 quarterback if he's not playing like that already this year for a Texans team that people didn't have a lot of expectations for, but they're a fun team. They play hard. Coach D'Amico Ryans is doing a great job, and they're at 3-3 right now, and not even at the bottom of the division because that's the Titans. So
yeah, we've come full circle. Started at Titans, and you've ended at Titans. Look at you.
And then also, I had CJ Stroud at number 2. I didn't do like a final ranking thing, but I had him number 2 behind Anthony Richardson, and then Bryson 3. But you can obviously put Stroud at 1 right now as far as the rookie class goes, and I can't say a word about it just because of how he's looked.
No, I'll never forget it. It sucks that Anthony Richardson got injured. I think he was on the cusp of a massive season. Like he was already raw. And so like to not get the season under his belt and then going to his second year next year is going to be tough because we had already not seen that much from him in terms of like competitive games, and so now to still not have that much on film is tough. But I still think he's going to be an absolute monster in the league. I will never forgive the Colts for stealing him from us. To this day believe he was going to be a Seahawk.
That's kind of crazy. Sorry,
Granted, Devon Witherspoon is great so far. Great. I'll do not like I'm
He's a
not mad
dog.
at it. I'm not mad at the pick. I just will never forgive the Colts for that. Yeah, CJ's been incredible, like way better than I think anyone thought he would be. And I was high on CJ. I am known for calling him and Bryce both generational. I will take away the generational out of Bryce. CJ looks pretty generational. No, I'm
Pretty
playing.
freaking good.
He looks pretty good. He looks pretty good. Yeah, he's been incredible. My last takeaway is pretty simple. I think the Lions are for real. I think they're an actual good NFL team. I think a lot of people had really written off Jared Goff, and he looks pretty awesome through 6 weeks of the season. They are the only team to have beaten the Chiefs. And the only team that have beaten the Lions is the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, indeed. But yeah, I think the Lions are serious. I think they're probably the second best team in the NFL. No, probably the third best team. I'm not gonna down the Eagles. Probably the third best team in the NFC. I think the Niners are, in my opinion, far and away the third best team, or the second best. I mean, the first best team in that division, the best team actually in that division. And then I'd probably say the Eagles, and then the Lions. The Cowboys scare me. They do. I think them and the Lions kind of jockey back and forth for third, in my opinion. But I think 49ers, pretty decent gap. Eagles, little bit of a gap. Lions, Cowboys, and then honestly, I throw the Seahawks in as the fourth best team, the fifth best team in that division. In that conference. Yeah, I'm tweaking right now, but yeah, I'm locked on. I'm trying to see if Alvin Kamara is going to score a touchdown for my fantasy team, but he's kind of selling me. But yeah, I think the Lions are back. I'm a believer. Motor City, Dan Campbell's got those boys humming, and yeah, I think they are probably going to go to the playoffs and do some sort of damage. You're on a bye this week, but 5-1, and that division is pretty much locked for them. The Packers, they don't look great. Their offense looks horrible. Granted, Aaron Jones hasn't really played since week 1. He did play a little bit in week 4? Week 4 was that, and it was he barely played any snaps. Vikings look horrible, and obviously the Bears are starting a rookie Tyson Bagent or whatever for this week. So that division is pretty much locked for them. Yeah, those are our 3 NFL takeaways each. Was there any last football you want to talk about before we got to basketball, brother?
I think Lions match up well. They got the size up front on both sides of the ball to match up with the 49ers and Eagles for the most part. I think a huge separator for them is probably just like having some dudes. You look at the 49ers, they got some dudes, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Debo, Christian McCaffrey, Armstead. Ayuk, bro.
He's that guy.
Trent Williams, George Kittle. Like they got some dudes on everywhere. And then you go to the Eagles, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Slay when he's healthy, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts, offensive line, AJ Brown. Like they got dudes. And Lions, I think, have some dudes, or at least on the cusp of having some guys. So like when I say dudes, it's like some superstar plays, star play, like real play. It's like, and I think that can matter, especially when you get into crunch time later in the season. When you're really needing to make some big plays. But I think the Lions have pretty much everything else into play. It's just really getting on that. Seeing that for real, like coming to fruition, and also Jared Goff, showing up in those spots and duking it out with 2 other really good offenses and defenses. When you talk about like a Jalen Hurts and that offense, and then Brock Purdy in that offense. So that's those are my last thoughts. I think pretty sure Titans probably just blow it up. Probably still lean on the Chiefs because we got Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson was great. Sometimes some stupid mistakes here and there. This is the best he's thrown the ball that I've seen. And
if you had to pick right now, who's your Super Bowl winner?
Super Bowl winner? I'm probably I'm not picking anyone other than the Chiefs right now. It's so stupid.
Oh, I would pick the Niners. So
I really hope it's that's a great pick, right? I can't say anything. I really hope it's a very busy trade deadline here coming up as well.
Isn't it
Just
like Halloween? Halloween is the deadline, I think, or like right a couple days before Halloween.
crap. Yeah, so there's a lot of teams who can get busy and really improve their team, and I think the Chiefs are a team that could and should probably do that. Especially when
Well,
it's
they just got Mecole Hardman back. Apparently, they're getting Frank Clark back, putting
yeah,
the band
right.
back together.
Yeah, so like bringing some familiar faces and also just some more speed on the offensive end. So maybe that's what they stick with. Can the Bills improve? Just teams like that, teams that can get better. Even the Texans, they want to bring in a receiver. Panthers, they ain't got much going for them. So do you even want to bring in a receiver? Or maybe you should. So there's a few different moves to make. A few different teams who can blow it up. You look at like a Broncos and stuff who can really ship some guys out of there. And
Judy, free Jerry, man.
Cortland Sutton, even just guys like that, and Cardinals, whatever it looks like. So yeah, maybe Giants, Saquon Barkley. Who knows? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It could be a busy one. It could be a boring one. But it's been a really fun season so far. A lot of great storylines, a lot of good football and bad football. But right now it's kind of up in the air as far as what's going to happen. But I'm excited.
Boom. And so there you have it. Those are our three biggest takeaways through 6 weeks of the NFL season. And we've already been going for like an hour and 10 minutes.
Talk a lot. Sorry.
No, I absolutely adore you, Khalil. I love that you talk a lot. It's way better than sitting here talking to my fucking self. So, so now we're gonna pivot on to NBA. We're gonna talk our award predictions because the season starts in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 5 days. So my math earlier was indeed correct.
Well done.
5 days away. And I'm just gonna start out by asking you, Khalil, before we get to the awards, who do you think wins the NBA championship?
Lakers are bust.
Yeah. And Justice is not here to ruin our Lakers parade with his realism and cynicism, whatever that word is.
I feel like you're kind of the same way, but also not. Like we were picking the Lakers pretty much for every series in playoffs.
We were almost right though.
We were almost right, yeah. And he was like fully against it. Like he picked the Grizzlies and he picked the Nuggets, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Lakers. You want me to explain it why, or just go for it?
Oh yeah, talk to me.
Do you also think the Lakers?
This is music to my ears.
Do you also think the Lakers?
My finals prediction is Lakers Celtics. Lakers over Celtics.
Yeah, I'd probably do Lakers Celtics as well. Hoping for Celtics just to be healthy, just for good basketball, all around, of course. But they're actually gonna have to be healthy, I think, to make it to the finals. And there's a world where that team is really bad, or it gets really bad for that team if health goes wrong, just because of the guys they have there, and they're putting their stock into like a KP, of course, and Horford's getting older. Not Horford, but Brown had some weird hand injuries going on last year. You still got Brogdon as well. So just like are they going to be healthy? And then is the depth going to come up? And can we see Jason Tatum and really come into his own a little bit more that we've always wanted to see? And you got the Lakers. I'm a LeBron fan, well documented. That's my guy. Hopefully we get a healthy AD shooting threes, I guess. Whatever that looks like.
Attempting 6 threes a game, baby.
Crazy.
That's out here.
But I think that team just got so much better this offseason. Really good team, even post trade deadline, starting off with Rui, bringing him in. But you got a Reeves, of course. You listen to Bill Simmons' podcast, and that guy loves Austin Reeves.
He was so mad that no one gave him the poison pilled contract. Like, okay, relax, buddy.
He brought it up again this past podcast, talking about, I guess that's why the Spurs didn't go get Austin Reeves, because they just want to kind of chalk it up this year and just like let Victor, do what he needs to do. But anyway, Reeves, Rui, of course. Hopefully, Adilo, really good regular season player. That's cool. Hopefully, you see some stuff from Max Christie as well. Christian Wood, bringing him in, that'll be really interesting to see. But I think just adds more added or needed depth on that team. But we're seeing a team where we don't have to exactly rely. I'm not saying we, but you don't have to exactly rely on LeBron James to always be there. but you can definitely win games without LeBron with this type of team and the infrastructure there. I do think you just need to see a healthy AD for most of the season. I just think he just needs to be there, and I think he can really make some noise as well if he's healthy, and that's even if he's not shooting threes well. So I like the Lakers. I like what they've done, and I need to see LeBron at least get one more title.
Yeah, I mean, Lakers are my chip pick too, and obviously I'm a homer. Obviously, Lakers fan, Lake Show. It's all over the place. I think that our problem before was that we really relied on LeBron and AD to do basically everything for us. And when they went down, we were left with a bunch of pieces that didn't really know how to fit together. And this year, I feel like the fact that we've bought back most of the guys from our Western Conference Finals run last year, they have some cohesiveness. They know how to play each other. Team chemistry is at an all-time high. A lot of those guys play together without LeBron and then play together without AD, and so like they know what that's like. And then playing as a unit, we reached the Western Conference Finals, so there's confidence there in that we can beat any team, really, obviously, other than the Nuggets. But we'll see on Tuesday, because for the first game of the season, and I want my get back. So I'm gonna need the Nuggets to take this L. And yeah, I think now we're D'Angelo Russell looks great in preseason. He's obviously better in the regular season than he is the playoffs, at least for now. Austin Reeves has looked great in Team USA basketball, and he's really looking to take a step. He's probably the third best player on our team right now. AD is AD, LeBron is LeBron, and then probably Torian Prince is going to be our starter, who's a vet guy, a guy that's been shooting great in the preseason. Hopefully going to be a high 30s, maybe low 40s, if we're being real 3-point shooter.
Hopefully, man. People forget how to
Hopefully,
shoot when they play for the
hopefully.
Lakers and with
And
LeBron.
yeah, exactly. And then we're bringing Christian Wood, who obviously the upside is there. Can he put it all together? I would like him next to AD. Hopefully they can figure that out. We bring Rui back, who's going to be our sixth man off the bench. We bring Jared Vanderbilt back. We sign Gabe Vincent, who is fresh off a finals run where he was a massive component of the Heat even making it there. So to bring that veteran leadership in is another big thing, a shooter. And yeah, I just love the moves we made this offseason, man. I really do. And so yeah, I just don't think there's a team that's better built than us. You look at the Nuggets, they lost Bruce Brown, and obviously they're expecting Christian Brown to, make that up. He's a sophomore player. I'm not just going to sit here and think that he can do exactly what Bruce Brown was doing. And they lose Jeff Green. People might be like, oh, Jeff Green. He was playing 15 to 20 minutes per game for them. He was a real rotation piece. They bring in Justin Holiday, so maybe they feel like Justin Holiday can, fill that gap, but I got to see it first. And obviously they have the best basketball player in the world and probably the best duo in the world right now, the Nuggets. So, I'm not going to knock them. They're a great constructed team, but I think we're better. As simple as that. I think we are the best team in the West. I think we're the best team in the league, and I will stand on that. Bucks go and get Dame, whatever. Whatever. Celtics. I think the Celtics are the best team in the East. And it's always been Lakers Celtics, two teams, 17 chips between both of each. And I think they're gonna have to battle it out for 18. That is my finals pick. I guess we could start with six man of the year. That's the one that I had the most trouble with.
That's a weird one. I'm not gonna
That's
lie
a
to
weird
you.
one.
I don't know what
I
it
had a
looks like
lot of
right now.
trouble. I had a lot of trouble with six man of the year. I was kind of looking at, so I work for FanDuel. I was kind of looking at like the betting odds for like these awards and kind of trying to go off that. And it's pretty rough. Like even the betting odds are tough. I ended up going with, I think the favorite is Emmanuel Quickly.
I thought about him.
Yeah, I think the favorite's Emmanuel Quickly. But I ended up going with Malik Monk. For me, it really came down to in over the last 20 years, 17 of the 20 winners have been a guard, right? So like it's typically a guard. The only three were Montrezl Harrell when he won it a couple years ago, Lamar Odom won it, and Antoine Jameson won it. Other than that, it's been all guards. My dark horse was Rui Hachimura. I'll be honest. I think he's going to come off the bench for us. If we are a top 3 seed in the league and he comes off the bench and gives us 14, 15, 16 a night, like he's going to be in the conversation. But I ended up going with Malik Monk just because of that. The guard plays into it. I think a lot of people like the Kings. I think his role is pretty consistent. in that he will be coming off the bench. That team is relatively young, so they'll probably be healthy. I can see the situation arising where Rui has to start a bunch of games and isn't even available to, like, he's not eligible to qualify. So I ended up going with Malik Monk. I think he's a flamethrower off the bench for the Kings. He's really revitalized his career after the Lakers thing. I felt like he was on his way out the league, and now he's a staple on that Kings team. And I think the offensive load that they ask him to carry is pretty big. Kevin Huerter is not much outside of a shooter. De'Aaron Fox is obviously their guy. Sabonis is their guy. But when you're looking for offense on that team, outside of Keegan Murray shooting, like, Malik Monk is probably top 3 scorer on that team. And so, like, they need him to put up points if they're going to be, a 50-win team this year. And so, yeah, he ended up being my 6th man of the year. But that was the most, like, who could, like, I wouldn't be shocked if, like, a random guy won it. So yeah. Who's your 6th man of the year, bro?
Rue is one of my first thoughts as well, and then I went straight to, like, well, it's I don't even know what a non-guard looks like winning that now. Like, I just don't know what that even looks like. And I think the situation for Rui could be a little difficult to win that award for a few different reasons. One, you mentioned having to start a few times or a lot throughout the season, but also just having the ball in your hands and being able to be consistent. And we talk a lot about the versatility on the Lakers. And I just think that might also hinder, what that looks like for him as far as usage goes and what we always need for him consistently. But he looked great during the playoffs and looked like a guy that could win that type of award with the energy he brought. And it was exactly what we needed. I keep saying we. I'm a LeBron fan. I'm saying we.
Hey, you on the team, man.
This is what we needed sometimes. So really was great to watch and super fun. And I'm glad that trade has worked out, and he has a type of resurgence to his career. I thought about quickly as well, and then I went to, like, well, maybe the Knicks make a trade at some point though too, and maybe that changes a few things, and maybe Quickly's not even on the roster for the Knicks, because he was in the running for it last year, but. I'm just going Malik Monk too, man, because you said it basically at this point. This one was a really hard one to choose, just because the teams are a little weird right now as far as finding that out in the rotations and stuff too. So it might just look a little bit different, But Malik Monk having a lot of responsibility on that team, and we saw that during the playoffs as well. Had a lot of huge games, kept them in some games, and really helped give them a chance against the Warriors, and provided a lot of punch for that team offensively. So I think just, he has a lot of confidence. He's always played that way. But I think he's finally found his place in the NBA. And it's kind of like the perfect, like, 1-2 punch, especially coming off the bench for a Kings team that's going to, also just need that going into a freaking tough Western Conference.
Yeah, the West is loaded. To pivot to the next award, I let's go with Clutch Player of the Year. I don't even know if did you like pick this one? It's a relatively, like, new one, and I think there's not really much precedent for this award. Like, maybe the most narrative based award of them all. Like, do you go off the clutch numbers? Do you go off, like, what feels clutch? What do you do? Last year, De'Aaron Fox won it. I think the key for me was finding a guy who's on a team that's going to be competitive enough to be in a lot of close games, and is the clear alpha on their team who won't give up shots in the clutch. So for me, that takes out guys like Dame, because I think the Bucks are going to blow a lot of teams out. I also think he's not necessarily the number one option on that team when you play with Giannis. That took out Luka for me because he has Kyrie. So, like, they might go back and forth between who's taking the last shot. Takes out guys like Tatum for me because I think the Celtics are going to blow a lot of guys out. Takes out the Lakers guys. Takes out the Nuggets guys because I think they're going to blow a lot of teams out. So my pick ended up being Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. SGA. I think a lot of people are anointing him the top 10 player in the league. I think people are setting him up for failure, to be completely honest. They're putting these massive expectations on him to carry the Thunder to the playoffs. I think the Thunder are probably still a year away, which might be a hot take. I'm not necessarily the highest on the Thunder this year. I think they are probably going to flame. Maybe they make the playoffs, flame out in the first round. Maybe they don't make the playoffs again, and Shai's going to get killed. But, like, I don't think it's fair to put all that on him. I think a lot of people want to give him the MVP. I think a lot of people want to call him most. He should have won maybe most improved last year, but I'm gonna say this is the award he gets. I think the Thunder will be in a lot of competitive games, and I think he is the clear number one player on that team. And so he's my clutch player of the year. If I had to pick a dark horse, I pick Trae Young because I feel like he has the Ice Trae narrative. I feel like he's kind of a villain in the league. I think the Hawks will be in a decent amount of close games, and I think if anyone's taking a last shot at the end, it's Trae Young. So yeah, between Shea and Trae, for me, I ended up going SGA.
That's a good pick. I'm looking through the teams right now, and I wrote down a few names, but I really wanted to narrow it down. I wrote names down like Kyrie, question mark. I had Shea on there, but I'm going to go with an interesting pick, a pick that I'm not super confident in. But I think we saw enough last season to think this person's going to be like taking the reins a little bit more compared to what it's been like in the past 2 seasons. And then also, we've seen this team be super competitive with, really good teams in the past. And then also, kind of play down to the level of really bad teams. But they've been competitive. They just haven't always been able to actually get anywhere, whether making the playoffs or being in the play-in. I'm going to go with Zach LaVine of Chicago Bulls. Very
Ooh.
weird pick.
No, I like that. I
Very
like
weird
that.
pick. I think Zach took more reins of the offense, and I think we're kind of transitioning into that moment for him. Hopefully, I think it's something that's needed. They're paying him a lot of money. Super athletic player. I went to the Celtics game last year against the Bulls in Boston. Got to see him up close, and it's just one of those guys who can get any type of basket he wants. I think he settles a little bit, but I think he hopefully is getting to this point more where like he knows like he can get to the rim at will sometimes. And I think he's taking just a little bit more responsibility on that team. So I think the Chicago Bulls are going to be somewhat competitive. I'm not saying they're going to be like a playoff team or anything necessarily, but competitive. And I'm just going to give it up to Zach LaVine. We've seen some clutch moments from him in the past.
No, I like that pick. I like that pick a lot. I think the only thing that might ruin is Mr. DeRozan, thinking that he's, clutch
Yeah,
king.
yeah.
But I like that pick a lot. I feel like it's got to be a guard. It's got to be someone who's going to make flashy last second shots. Like it's got to be stuff like that. So I like
Yeah.
Zach LaVine.
And it's kind of super of a dark horse too, just because of the Rosen's there and Zach LaVine's just kind of been in this weird space on that team in the league for a while. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I love the Zach LaVine pick. Next up we got rookie of the year. Um, I think ultimately for me it comes down to opportunity. You look at most rookies of the year, like they guys who come into a situation and can immediately be like the guy right away, like Paolo, LaMelo, Ja, Luca. So I think that takes out like Chet, Amin Thompson, Cam Whitmore, like I think they're both on the same team, obviously, so that's tough for them. And then Chet, I think there's a lot of mouths to feed in OKC between Giddey, Shea, Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams. They still got Lou Dort. And so now Chet comes in. And then I think like a dark horse for me would be Keontae George because he has a lot of free reign on the Jazz. I feel like obviously they still got Jordan Clarkson. They obviously have Lauri Markkanen, most improved player, but Keontae George was killing in summer league. And I think there's a realm where he just goes crazy and is their guy. But my pick ends up being Scoop. I think he'll hit the 65 game threshold. Jeremy Grant, obviously the $160 million man, but I don't think he's taking shots away from Scoot like that. There's Anthony and Shaden, which would definitely hurt his case, but I think he ultimately like emerges the alpha there. With Wemby, I don't think he hits the 65 game threshold, to be completely honest. But if he does, then I'll be honest, the award is probably his just because of the sheer like awe that he inspires when he's on the field. I mean, when he's on the court. But I'm banking on the Spurs just being smart with him and being like, listen, this is kind of a lost season. Like, I don't think we're making any noise unless he comes out and is just that much of a game changer. He probably won't hit the 65. But maybe it'll be important enough for them to be like, nah, we want him to get rookie of the year. We're gonna make sure he hits 65, but I'm just gonna bank on Scoot probably playing a lot of games and probably putting up a lot of stats. So for me, Scoot Henderson ends up being my rookie of the year.
Great pick, man. Very solid pick.
Yeah, I couldn't make myself pick Victor just because of that situation. Spurs being smart probably and just giving him some time and not putting too much pressure on him. Like historically, that's just what they've done with all their players. Not like all their players, but like all their star players that way too, giving them rest and managing them, especially just him probably needing that transition. His body, he just looks so freaky like on the court, man. It just doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense to me seeing him on the basketball court, let alone doing the things he's doing on the basketball court. But just like seeing him there, he just looks so different from everyone else. But it's still like it's a weird body. He's gonna have to go into a few things and transition. And I just think they're gonna be smart about it. So I don't think the opportunity and usage is gonna be there necessarily, or at least the amount of games played, I should say. Love the Keontae George little sleeper mention. Went through the draft process a little bit, was able to do some slight scouting reports on a few players, and I thought I would have liked Keontae George before watching him, and then I finally watched him and was able to do a little bit on him, and I ended up really liking Keontae George. And then he went to that summer league a little bit. I'm just going to read some of the notes I got for Keontae George just a little bit that I have my scouting for a while ago. But just a super explosive scorer. Would do well with the Magic, Utah, ended up in Utah, Toronto, maybe Pelicans, Brooklyn. There weren't a lot of great fits for him earlier on, so there were going to be some teams that pass on him. But he changed up his body. He looked great. Looked more athletic, played more athletic, just looked leaner and stronger, and played that way too, of course. And then just a pure tough shot maker, and just looked like he has some stuff to him. Like he has some stuff to him. He can score. He showed a lot.
He's a bucket, bro.
He showed a lot as a playmaker and being able to get guys involved and making different passes, whether it was lobs, skip passes, hitting the roller, passing out of doubles. Like he showed a lot of good stuff. I said probably best as a secondary ball handler. But what does a lead guard situation look like for him? Anyways, I'm getting to draft stuff that we could have talked about and didn't get a chance to talk about. So you can obviously see that there was a hole left in my heart that we didn't get
passionate.
To go.
I love it.
I was ready, bro. But like Keontae George, like I'm a big fan of his. I think I drafted him in our dynasty league. Yeah, drafted him our dynasty league. So I'm super excited about him. And just seeing him, play. And I think the Jazz is like a perfect situation for him just to, become like an actual dude, like a lead guard. Reminds me a little bit of a less athletic Anthony Simons in that way.
Ooh, okay.
Just being able to make tough shots, being able to get to the rim still a little bit, and just being a pure scorer and being super explosive. But with all that being said, there's a stupid, unnecessary rant about Keontae George that no one asked for, but I gave it to you. You're welcome.
No, we need that. We love that. Let's go.
Scoot Henderson is my pick though for Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to end up being just one of my favorite players. He was my favorite player coming out of the draft, but just one of my favorite players in the NBA in general. You talk about a guy that has some stuff to him, and that dude definitely does. He's athletic. He's not like I think sometimes people give him these certain comparisons that leans more towards the athletic side, and you think you'd see more. And not to say he's not athletic, like he's fast, he's explosive, he's super strong, looks like a linebacker out there. But he's still not like a Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose type necessarily. But he's cut of that build, but I think he, has a lot to his game, and he, I think the shooting is going to improve. The mid range is pretty much already there for the most part, and he's shown that he can finish around the basket. He's shown that he can pass and be a lead guard that way too. And he's already had experience, pretty close to the NBA level, just being able to be with Ignite as well too. So I just think that he's a guy in that situation. They drafted him third for a reason. Like there's a reason they didn't want to pass up on that pick and actually try to build around Dame Lillard in that situation. Just one of the reasons being like no package was good enough for him. But also, if you value Scoot that much, you're gonna like hand him the keys. You're trying to get Dame out of there. So that says a lot. So I think the opportunity is there. The usage is going to be there. Of course, you think about guys like Sharp, and you mentioned that, and Simons. But I think he can also play some pretty good complementary basketball, and doesn't exactly always need the ball compared to like what other people may think. So I think he can play with other people. But as far as still being that point guard, being the leading guy, I think he's going to thrive.
He's going to do great things in Portland, and he's going to be the rookie of the year for me.
Beautiful. I love that we're like on the same page right now. We're really cooking.
Excuse my
By the
God,
way,
bro.
that Thursday night football game is tied 24-24.
No shot. Are you
Michael
serious?
Thomas just caught a touchdown.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, Michael Thomas touchdown, Camara 2-point conversion, 24-24, baby.
That's an escape. The Saints are actually doing something. That's
Saints
crazy.
offense is cooking right now. I
The Jags
guess
defense in the league. That's stupid.
yeah, their pass defense is horrible. We could just pivot to coach of the year. Coach of the year was a tough one for me. I'll be honest. I think it's tough to give it to a team you already think it's going to be good. Like, is Adrian Griffin really? Is it really going to be impressive if the Bucks are that nice? Like, they have Dame, they have Giannis. You know, they have Chris Middleton, Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, Malik
You
Beasley.
better, yeah, you better win.
Yeah, you know, you better win. I don't think Darvin Ham's going to get it, even if we're nice. They're not going to give it to a Lakers head coach. Tom Thibodeau already got it before. I don't think he's going to get it again. I don't think Mike Brown wins it again. Steve Kerr is definitely not winning it. So it's like for me, I ended up going, even though I'm not that high on the Thunder, I ended up going with Mark Diagonal, however you say his last name.
Dagnall or one of
Dagnall,
the two.
Dagnall, however you say. I'm just going Marky D. I'm gonna say that Marky D wins Coach of the Year just because I think the expectations are high for the Thunder. And I think if they win 45 games, 47 games, that makes him coach of the year. Like people will be good with that. You know, I think even if they sniff the playoffs, they're the 7th seed, the 8th seed, the 6th seed, even I think that's good enough for him to win coach of the year because when you look at that team, they don't have that much talent, right? Like there's actually I won't say that they have Chet, who's obviously really talented. They have Jalen, they have Giddy, they have Shea, but like they're still all really young. They're all a couple of them are still really raw. So to expect them to put it together, I still think they're a year away. So if they end up putting it together this year, that's still impressive. So I ended up going with Marky D as my coach of the year. He's the favorite on FanDuel to win coach of the year as well. So it's pretty easy. But who'd you go with?
I don't think there's a lot of great candidates out there right now just because of like how stacked a few teams are,
Yeah.
and like the expectations for those teams. So I look at teams like so last year I think I picked Willie Green, and that did not go well for a few different reasons, unfortunately. But I thought about Will Hardy at one point, Utah Jazz, but I don't think they are there enough yet to compete. I like a lot of things on that roster, and I think they have a lot of good guys. But I think they're maybe like a year or two away, and they have assets to make a move to actually make it a year away if they wanted to. So that's something to look at, of course, later down the road. Trailblazers came to mind, of course. Trailblazers really came to mind just because that team has a lot of vets on it as well. They're a little bit more stacked than you think they would be for a team that I guess just traded their best player in a way. They got a lot back and were able to make some moves off that too. So they're a team to look out for. Looked at the Rockets and then looked at the Thunder. I
Well,
think
Ime.
yeah, Ime. I think Thunder is a really good pick as well. Just because I think the situation is there for him, and I can't talk myself into Trailblazers or Rockets at the moment.
No,
I just
I
think it's a little
can't.
bit too much. I'm gonna go with the Thunder. I'm gonna go with Mark Dagnall. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. I just think the situation's that's the best narrative and best situation. The only thing that can ruin that is the expectations a little bit that people are putting on them. But I think it's a really good team, a lot of good pieces. You got Shea, of course, and he's a really good coach, just even then too. So it's pretty easy, and they were very competitive last year. Against a lot of different teams that making the playoffs, and we saw that. So I'm gonna give it to the Thunder. Keep it short and simple here.
Well, we're on a roll. Same people. So let's see what we got for most improved. For me, most improved was another hard one. I'll be honest. I wanted to pick Austin. I did just because I think he is going to take a leap. I just think there's a lot of guys like when you play with AD, LeBron, D'Lo is another ball dominant kind of guy. Like Rui is ball dominant. It's tough to really stand out when you won't have the ball that much. So I ended up going with Cade Cunningham.
Oh, beautiful.
I think he's a guy that can really take a leap to all stardom. A couple years removed from being the #1 pick. A lot of injury stuff has really, ruined the past couple years for him. I think me and you and Justice are all high on Cade. I think the Pistons are looking for an alpha. They're hoping that it's him. He'll have every opportunity to prove that he is that as long as he plays to 65. I think he ends up getting it. I love Cade as a player. I think he was raw coming in, but still like everything, his size, his ability to play on both ends of the floor, his ability to shoot the ball, his playmaking, just like his feel for the game. I was really big on Cade, and I still am really big on Cade. I think he has the potential to be one of the best guards in the league, to be honest. And I think he's really versatile in the way that he can play on a basketball court. So yeah, for me, he's my most improved player. Runner up for me is Jordan Poole. Just purely opportunity based. He's a clear 1A there. He won't have a leash at all. You know, he said himself, like, this is the most free he's ever played. Like, if he chucks up a bad shot, there's no reason to pull him. There's no, like, when you're playing with the Warriors, there's obviously like a lot of pressure there, a lot of expectations. You're taking a bad shot with Steph Curry on the other end of the floor. Like, what are you doing? For on the Wizards, Jordan Poole, you take a shot from 35. Who gives a, you know, like we're going down the court playing some defense, you get it back, you shoot it again. Who cares? So I just think pure opportunity wise, Jordan Poole could put up massive numbers this year, and that alone would probably get him the most improved player. So, but I'm gonna land on Cade just because I think the expectations are there. Just like I think a lot of people want him to be good. And as long as he is, then I think it'll end up working out in his favor.
I'm one of those people. For sure. I'm definitely one of those people. I'm gonna do this again because I turned it on just to go over my stupid Keontae George rant. Now I'm gonna turn it back off because the Twitter group message is going crazy. But I like the Cade pick. I'm a big Cade fan, believer in Cade. I just wanted to stay healthy and you know, we saw a lot of stuff during the summer that people really started to look at and gravitate towards. And it's like, oh my gosh, we forgot about Cade. And you know, he missed his sophomore year. I think had a really good rookie season. Just was on a Pistons team that had nothing else around him. So it's like, you know, people talk about the inefficiency and what that looks like and stuff. So it's like, who else were they afraid of going against the Pistons? You know, he's going to get a lot of attention. A lot was put on his shoulders as far as making getting people involved, and he also got hurt. You know, he had a late start for his rookie year too, so it's like he has to transition in as well. But I thought he looked great. I thought he looked great in the games he did play for his sophomore year. I was really looking forward to that season. The only reason I push back on it is because he's the top pick, but I guess that doesn't matter if you look at the past. And
Ja, you know, yeah, Ja won it.
If you look at that, so
did
like
Brandon Ingram win? No, did BI win it? No, I don't think he won it. Actually,
if you go back to if you look at the narrative, and I think it's there for him, especially like with what the most improved player has become, in comparison to like how I see it in my eyes.
Oh yeah, BI did win it. BI won it in 2020. Julius Randle won it. Like those are all top picks.
Yeah, so like being a top pick, like so like the narrative's there for him. So it's actually a really good pick. It's just something I naturally I guess go against just because he is a top pick. So it's just different than how I see the award, but that's not how the actual award is. You know, it's actually like you can be a top pick and get most improved because that's just how it is sometimes.
His first couple years are rough.
Yeah. So Cade for sure can definitely win it, and that's a great pick from you. I'm gonna pick Jordan Poole in this situation just because the narrative is also there for him. With what he went through in Golden State. Did you see what he said to Draymond? What got leaked about what he said to Draymond? I don't know if it was real or not.
Yeah, it was like you're just an expensive backpack or
that
something
is
like that. Right?
Crazy.
Crazy. It's nuts.
That's so funny. So that's true. That's hilarious. I guess you deserve to get punched in the face or whatever. I don't know.
Expensive backpack for 30.
Bro, that's so funny. That's so funny. But even then, with that punch, that relationship got fractured. That team had a weird vibe about it pretty much all season, and you saw that impact his play. I thought we saw a lot of good stuff from him in the playoffs and in the season before that, and then going to that season had some expectations, but then that happened, and then we just saw the worst of Jordan Poole pretty much. And I don't think that's a player that he is, basically. So I'm expecting a lot of him. It seems to be a good situation with him in Washington. He likes it there. There's not really any threats as far as usage goes. He has Kuz with him. They seem to like each other. So he's going to get the opportunity there, and he's really going to be able to get back to some playing some good basketball. hopefully play in some defense, whatever that looks like. We'll see however that goes. But I did want to bring up one player that is like a dark horse, and then like someone I could like when I think of most improved. This is like what I feel like. The award should be, maybe like just a sleeper pick in general, not like a huge top pick. I can't remember where he was chosen at. I actually need to look at that part now because I could just be like being hypocritical about it. So give me a second just to check myself. It was not too bad. Anyways, my dark horse for it though, and a guy that I really like is Devin Vassell for the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
Yeah, played 38 games last season, or played 38 games last season, 31 minutes. Showed a lot to his game. Not just a 3-and-D guy, but a guy that can actually play with the ball in his hands and make some plays. Play off the pick and roll, play in the mid range, and I think he's a really good player. Showed that a lot in the 38 games he played last season. Averaged 18.5 points. Really freaking good. And even with his first season, played 71 games and being at 12 points per game too. So we even saw a jump there. I think situation is really good for him as far as opportunity usage goes for San Antonio. They're not in a situation where they're going to be competing necessarily, and then the usage is there for him as far as being able to have opportunity. As long as he's healthy, I think it'll be a really good situation for him to actually, be eligible for that award and also, be in contention for it. I like that a lot. I just traded for him in that fantasy league too.
There you go. Oh yeah, I saw the trade happen, but I didn't end up looking. I gotta edit my lineup to be honest. I gotta at least put my best lineup in because sleeper got the thing where you just pick the game.
Yeah. Give yourself. Yeah, I traded for AD, Shea, and Devin Vassell.
Who did you win it last year?
Did I win it?
Yeah.
No, I tanked last year.
Oh, okay.
One of my former RA won it, Logan Bargo. He beat Justice in the championship.
Love that. Anytime I hear those words, I'm happy.
Dame on this team was crazy.
I know I drafted in that league I drafted a SAR. I don't remember what pick I had. I think I had like 6 and I drafted a SAR. It got auto drafted for me. I should have taken Keontae George, but I completely forgot.
Thank you for that because I got to take him.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, now we move to DPOY and MVP. That's all we got left. DPOY, I think there's no shot after the playoff performance. Jaren Jackson repeats. I don't think Anthony Davis will play the 65. I'll be honest. So it ended up being Evan Mobley or Bam Adebayo for me. I ended up siding with Evan Mobley. He was a finalist last year. I think the Cavs will be the better team. Like between them and the Heat, I think the Cavs will just have more wins. I think they'll have a better record. I think they'll be higher in the standings. And I think they'll have a better overall team defense. And usually they kind of try and give it to a guy on a top 3, top 5 defense, whatever that may be. And I just think Mobley is a defensive analytics stat nerd, stat darling. Like when you look at his stats compared to Bam last year, analytic wise, he had like a higher defensive box plus minus, a higher defensive LeBron, a higher D Raptor, a higher defensive points added. Like there's just all these analytic stats that these voters like to look into that Evan Mobley is just insanely efficient and good at. And so I think he'll finally break through. And I know a lot of people wanted to give it to him last year.
Yep, it almost came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
because of all that stuff.
They couldn't justify it because Jaren had like the most insane block season of all time. So they ended up giving it to him. But he got embarrassed in the playoffs by the greatest defensive player in the league, Anthony Davis. But he just won't play the games. But yeah, I ended up going with Evan Mobley. And I think he's like the second or third favorite on FanDuel. So it's not that crazy of a pick, but I just think he finally breaks through this year.
I would love for Bam to win it just because it just seems right, and being one of the best defensive players in the league, maybe the best, wherever you want to say. I think it only seems right. But I actually wrote down AD to win the Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
Probably very stupid, very naive to think he's going to play 65 games.
I mean, I hope.
Yeah, I think he said he's shooting to play all 82. No shot that happens before, right? But I think if he is playing the correct amount of games, I think he's going to be in the contention for it. We've seen him for years be the defensive player he is, and he makes a difference even when he's not playing at his best, at least. So I have AD just for this. It just feels like one of the best choices to make as long as he is playing, the least or the most amount of games he can. So.
No, I mean, I think that's a great pick. I think, like bar for bar, I think he's probably the best defensive player in the league. If we're being honest, like just pound for pound, who do I want defending another team's top player, like who has the biggest impact, I would probably say for me is Anthony Davis. And I think that playoff run proved it. Like he's an absolute tank. And so, yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick at all. I'll be honest. And then to kind of round things out with MVP, this one for me was pretty easy. I think it's typically from a top 3 seed, and B last year was a 3 seed. Jokic the 2 years prior was a 6 seed and a 3 seed. So, sometimes you see these 6 seeds win, like Moses Malone did it a couple times. Russ did it when he averaged a triple double. They weren't that high of a seed. He still won MVP. Giannis was 2 years before that. He was the 1 and the 1 seed. So typically it's from a top 3 seed. You have these outlier 6 seeds sometimes winning. But so for me, that kind of narrowed it down to 6 teams. If you're going to be a 3 seed in the West or a 3 seed in the East, the Lakers, I don't think anyone on there is winning it. I don't think anyone from the Suns is winning it. I don't think anyone on the Bucks will win it. And so for me, it came down to Jason Tatum or Nikola Jokic. I don't think I think a lot of I ended up picking Jason Tatum. I think a lot of Nikola Jokic is, for him to win it 3 times in 4 years, I don't think they're going to do that for him. I think that the first 2 times he won it, a lot of it was like, oh, he's this underrated guy. Like people aren't giving Jokic enough credit for what he's doing. No one even knows who he is. And like now I think he's widely regarded as the best player in the league, coming off a finals MVP. A lot of people thought he should have won last year, so would have been back to back to back MVPs. Obviously NBA champion. And like I said, I think most people know who Nikola Jokic is now. Like he's no longer underrated. He is widely regarded as, if not the best player, the second best player in the league. Top 3, easy. And like I said, a lot of people think he's the best. So I don't think like that pushing into like he's gonna have that like narrative to feed into. So for me, I think it's Jason Tatum. I think the Celtics are the best team in the East. I think they're pretty much a lock for a top 3 seed barring injury. And I think he's the best player on the Celtics. He's gotten better every year of his career from a statistical standpoint. He jumped from 26 to 30 points per game last year with pretty good efficiency. And he became a much better catch and shoot guy last year. He took a step back defensively, but he had the highest usage rate of his career. It was like the second highest usage rate of any forward not named Brandon Ingram, because he was just chucking last year. I just think he's just, I don't know. I think there's another step for him to take. Like he averaged 30 points per game. He's tough to get out of a series. Like his stats in elimination games are insane. Yes. Like he's an insane, like it's tough to put him down in a playoff series. And I think if he can try and sustain that level of play throughout an entire 82 game season, or at least 65 of them, I think it's his to lose. I think that Joel Embiid's not winning it again. And I think Jokic is like, I think people are kind of voter fatigue is kind of going to mess that up. Maybe Giannis gets it, but I think the Celtics are the better team. So I'm giving it to Jason Tatum.
I picked Tatum last year. That obviously did not work out. I agree with you when you say that there is another step for Tatum to take. Not sure what that step looks like. And of course, like he's still young, man. What is he, like 26 years old?
25, actually.
25 still?
Mm-hmm.
Dang, he has to be turning 26 soon, bro.
You got to be turning 26 soon.
You're kidding. He's not 25 years old. Hold on. No, you're not.
Maybe I'm bugging, but I'm pretty sure he's 25. He is 25. His birthday is in March.
He's been 25 forever.
His birthday is in March.
That's crazy. It's crazy that he's 25 years old. He's had an awesome career so far. Even being drafted into Celtics and in that situation, and being able to have the experience he does. I think there is a level for him to get to, and I think there's going to be more opportunity for him to get to that level, especially this year. With the changes on the team, Marcus Smart being gone, another year with the coaching staff there too, which is going to be helpful as well. So I think Tatum, there's a definite lane for him to get to. I don't know if I see it happening this year for him necessarily, but I think we can start to see some real strides, at least taken for him, especially being able to assume more of the offense and assume more of a leadership position with Marcus Smart gone. And then I wrote down some other names. I thought about Luka. Team success kind of comes into play there. But if he can get that team even into the playoffs, maybe a top 5, top 6 seed, I think that says a lot. He's coming. People say he's coming back with vengeance. But he's actually going to be in shape this season.
coming into the season at least. And I think that's going to say a lot about the play we're going to see from him. And he's going to have to, carry a little at different times. And it's going to help having Kyrie, of course, but we're going to have to see some of the best of Luka. And I think we're approaching that a little bit. But ultimately, I can't pick that just because of that record. And I'm not sure if we're going to get that. He's going to have to do some crazy stuff for us to get to that point. Jokic, probably not. Giannis, maybe. I'm going to go with someone that I think could be disqualified from it just because of his teammates. But I'm just going to go with Devin Booker.
Okay.
I thought we saw a lot of great stuff from him, especially in the playoffs last season. I think this team is going to need his playmaking, and we saw a whole lot of strides from him in that lane. And then also just his scoring is just ridiculous. Super consistent, super efficient, can score from everywhere. And then also just being around Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, I think is making him a better player, which is weird to think about. Like he's really good, but sometimes it feels like he's reached his max, and then he finds a way to take another step and another level. And I feel like there's a little bit more for him to grow into. And I think we're going to start seeing that here pretty soon, especially just being around those guys who've been in the league for a while, have seen a lot of different, have seen it all, have been through it. And, they if they're not there now, have at least been at the top of their games for a little bit too. And then, those guys are going to be, I don't like to say that. Those guys are not going to be always available. They're not always going to be available, I should say. So there's going to be times where there's not going to be in the lineup. And Devin Booker, he had some of his injury stuff last season, I think with the hamstring or ankle, something around that, something along, or groin. I think it was a groin.
Yeah, I think
he had some groin stuff last season, which is just like a super annoying injury, and it's easy to irritate and stuff. But it's not like I don't think that's like that's not who he is. But I think there's going to be opportunity for him to actually have to backpack a few times if those guys are out of the line for any specific type of reason. New coaching staff, I think the Suns want to get to a spot and be decent in the regular season, and I think Devin Booker's going to have a lot to do with that, and they're going to at least be top 3, top 4 seed. So I'm going to Devin Booker for MVP, man. It's over dark, it's overshot in the dark, but I love Devin Booker, one of my favorite players in the league. And,
no, he's a dog. I love me some Devin Booker. And so those are our NBA awards predictions. We were supposed to have a whole segment about talking about 3 sleeper teams, and we've been going for 2 hours. So I'm gonna tell you my 3 sleeper teams. I would just run through them quick.
That's it.
For me, it's the Wizards, the Mavericks, and the Hawks. I like the Wizards. Maybe I'm insane, but I think they could push for a playing spot. Love me some Poole, love me some Tyus Jones, Kuzma, Bilal Coulibaly. I think the East is really top heavy after the Bucks and Celtics. It's pretty wide open. 76ers, Harden, new coach. Harden might not even be there. Cavs should be pretty decent. Knicks, the Knicks are the Knicks. And then it's, the Nets, the Hawks, the Heat, the Bulls, the Raptors. I think the Wizards could be better than all of them. The Mavericks, I think a lot of people wrote the Mavericks off. They were really high on them last year. I wasn't this year. I'm not super high on them, but people are like, the Mavs are trash. Don't think that's the case. I like what they did. Bought in Grant Williams, obviously bought back Kyrie, drafted Derek Lively. I think they'll be really competitive. They have 2 of the 5 greatest scorers on planet Earth, and I think that alone will probably win them 40-plus games. And I just don't see a round where Luka misses the playoff 2 years in a row. And then lastly, the Hawks. I can't tell you exactly why. I think Trae Young has been, shit on by a lot of the NBA public opinion over the offseason. They keep DeAndre Hunter still there. They get John Collins out of there finally. Full offseason with Quinn Snyder. Every year he's coached a full season. He's won 44 or more in every year since 2016. And I think they're locked from the playoffs. And if you were to tell me when the playoffs came around that they were the 4 seed in the East, I wouldn't be shocked. So those are my 4 sleeper teams: Wizards, Mavericks, Hawks. I talked really fast. Khalil, your 3 sleeper teams. Go rapid fire.
All right. First, I got the Timberwolves. This is solely, literally just based on Ant Edwards. And hopefully he's taking a leap, taking a jump. And we've seen a little bit of that, whether it was in the playoffs or then also just USA basketball. But really good player. I'm not saying they're going to be amazing. I'm not saying he's going to be MVP, but that's a team to look out for. We saw him play obviously a very good Nuggets team and play them competitively, and he had a lot to do with that as well. So I'm going to lean on the Timberwolves here a little bit. The only situation we're about with them is you got Karl Towns and that Rudy Gobert fit. So hopefully a full season of that can correct it in the full off season. But if not, maybe changes need to be made. But they brought back Naz Reid.
and all that good stuff too. So maybe a team to look out for in the West just a little bit to cause some trouble. Next, I got the Blazers. I think I kind of alluded to it earlier. Of course, they got rid of Dame, but they brought in some really good pieces after that. Got some really good vets on that roster. Of course, drafted Scoot. You get more with Simons or get more out of Simons. You got a Sharp, hopefully going to be in the starting lineup as well. So a team that can really cause some fits for some people. They're going to be able to score the ball as well, and even have some different lineups where they can, defend people. You got Matisse Thybulle, you got Jeremy Grant, Sharp, who has a good body and good defensive potential. And I think Scoot's going to be at least a decent or average defender at the NBA level. I know the size is a thing to worry about, but I think he'll be fine, and he just has that mentality about him. And then Ayton, I think Ayton will be okay too. I'm not going to call him by his nickname that he gave himself.
Dominating, baby, dominating.
But I think they had a good offseason and made some really good moves. And probably do the best thing about waiting it out and not selling for that stupid Miami Heat package. And then my last dark horse is going to be the Utah Jazz. I put the Utah Jazz there. I talked about earlier, just liking their roster, and thinking they can be a little bit more competitive. And I'm seeing, Lauri Markkanen. They brought in John Collins. They have Keontae George that they drafted. Jordan Clarkson's still there. So I think Will Hardy's a really good coach. So I like that team. I like what they're doing. And they also have some room to get a little flexible as far as like making some moves if they wanted to do that as well. But I think they're going to be good. I would have put the Magic on this list, and I kind of really wanted to. The Magic, I just think, have some really interesting decisions to make as far as rotation and lineup goes, and also just seeing how their draft works out. Drafting an Anthony Black and a Jet Howard. That's a team that needed probably some defending, which you can get in Anthony Black, and some shooting, which theoretically you can get in Jet Howard. But that's not the picks people would have taken. And then they also have a Jalen Suggs, and they also have Cole Anthony. So it's just, there's some things to hamper out and work out with their lineup and whatever that looks like. But you got Paolo, you got Franz, you got Wendell Carter. Is Jonathan Isaac coming back healthy, which he seems to be right now. So that's a team that can still sneak up on people. I just think there's some stuff to figure out with their lineup and whatever that looks like. So, but I like the Magic. So let's put them at fourth for my fourth sleeper team.
Beautiful. They were a sleeper team for me too. I think they're probably still a year away. A lot of people are high on them. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode of the Run It Up podcast. I hope you guys enjoy. We talked some basketball, we talked some football. Make sure you guys subscribe to the pod on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Subscribe, leave whatever rating system they got, 5 stars, baby, please. Follow us on Twitter at Run It Up Pod. Follow us on TikTok at the Run It Up Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at @NajAdams_ the pod, on Twitter at Run It Up Pod. Khalil on Twitter at Below44. Justice on Twitter at JReed_. I hope you guys have a litty day, a litty night, a litty life. And just like we did on forgot the outro because I ain't done it in a while. I hope you guys have a litty day, a litty night, a litty life. And just like we do on every episode of this podcast, make sure y'all go run it up.
Yeah.